State-of-the-art Apple industrial design and material science in stainless steel, black ceramics, and sapphire crystal, strapped in classic, handcrafted, old-world Hermès leather. The juxtaposition is tremendous. Everything that's cutting-edge and smart meets all that's traditional and watch. It's the Apple Watch Hermès Series 4, and absent addition this year, it's the new highest-end wrist computer in Apple's lineup. I've been using the Series 4 going on 2 months now, and for most of that time, the Hermès version, with several Hermès bands, new and old, to go with it. I'm Rene Ritchie. Welcome back to Vector. Let's re-review this.
We've been working with a company that we greatly admire on some new watches. This is a company that shares our commitment to excellence and craftsmanship, and that company is Hermès.
The original Apple Watch Hermès was announced in September of 2015, roughly 6 months after the Sport, Steel, and Gold editions shipped. An historic partnership, it brought together and perfectly balanced the best of Apple's advanced mobile technologies and Hermès's classic leatherwork. For me, it was an even better representation of high-end silicon meets fashion than the yellow and rose golds. It was Apple's first partnership for the watch, and to this day, one of only 2 it's ever made, the other being Nike Plus on the fitness rather than fashion end of the price range. That the 2 of them, and only the 2 of them, persist show just how selective Apple is when it comes to partnering on the watch, and how committed. Now, 3 years later, the partnership continues to grow, and in some surprising new directions. From a hardware perspective, Apple Watch Hermès Series 4 is, not surprisingly, an Apple Watch Series 4, specifically a polished steel Apple Watch Series 4 in almost every way. The only difference is the inclusion of the Hermès brand on the back, around the black ceramic plate. Historically, the polished stainless steel hasn't been as scratch-resistant as the diamond-like carbon-coated space black, which seems damn near impervious at times, and likely not even as resistant as the physical vapor deposition coating on the new gold-colored steel watch. In the weeks that I've been wearing mine, I've accumulated a very few, almost unnoticeable scratches on the outer side near the buttons. They don't bother me. As I've said before, I like the Millennium Falcon style used materials look, but if you don't, it's always something to keep in mind. For software, the only difference remains the distinctive Hermès watch face that you can only get with the Hermès watch casing. Sadly, Hermès bands don't come with unlock codes for the faces. Apple and Hermès collaborated on an additional typeface a couple of years ago. This year, they've added an entirely new look, 2-tone looks in fur, indigo white background with orange type, rose, deep pink indigo background with light pink type, and amber, red pink background with yellow type. The background colors split and track with the minute hand, adding a little dynamism to the design that I really like. There's only one complication spot and only 4 options for it: off, date, stopwatch, and world clock. But the Hermès face isn't about being informationally dense, it's about being Hermès. It still looks terrific even 3 years on, and the new colors give it vivid new life. I switch to it whenever I want less Apple and more watch, classy yet casual. It remains, to my eyes, the best looking analog watch face across the entire product line, and it looks even better now. Every new Apple Watch Hermès series comes with new, distinctive bands, some of the best, if most expensive bands Apple offers. They're all handmade, all Hermès leather, and all about as classic watchy watch as you can get. And while they don't all appeal to my personal tastes, every year I tell myself there's no way I'm getting another one, not when the terrific Nike Plus band started just $50. Inevitably though, every year, there's at least 1 or 2 styles that I find utterly irresistible. For Series 0, it was the Cuff. For Series 2, the Single Déployant. For Series 3, the Rally. And now for Series 4, the Tricolor Single Tour. And yeah, I've gotten a new 1 or 2 every year because once they've come and gone for a season, they're often well and truly gone. The only downside is that the colored leathers never start off as soft and supple and never end up aging and patining as well as the raw leather straps. They look better, they just don't feel as good. But such is the story of fashion. I also wish Apple and Hermès wouldn't restrict some styles to some sizes, since anatomy and taste aren't bound to small and large stereotypes. While Apple Watch Hermès bands are, as I said, the most expensive bands Apple currently offers, I should point out they're not expensive by Hermès standards. They're also not expensive by watch standards. I have several friends who collect, and they have some truly obscene, if not downright offensive stories about how much they've paid for classic straps. If Apple Watch is just a fitness accessory for you, or just something to hold your wrist computer onto your wrist, then by all means, stick to the sport bands and loops or whatever you can find on Amazon. If it's a watch in the watch collector sense of the word, then the Hermès bands are a great way to show it off, especially since Apple has kept the same bands compatible with all watches going on 4 years in a row now, and hopefully for at least a few, if not many more years to come. I've been wearing an Apple Watch Series 4 with watchOS 5 for just over 10 weeks now, including a couple weeks with the aluminum, gold, steel, Nike Plus, and now for the last month, Hermès. I like the lightness and feel of the aluminum models best, but the look of the stainless steel, since that's still the only material that actually matches all the lugs on all the bands that Apple sells. Lug mismatches bother some people not at all, and others immensely. All things being equal, I'd still rather they match than not, and still wish Apple would find some way to support better matches for the blacks and the new gold. The taptics, the taps you get to alert you to notifications, still feel better for me than they did on previous generation steel watches, which is great. I love the bigger edge to curve edge display. I went back to wearing my Series 3 for a few days because the best way to tell if you really benefit from a new feature is to take it away, and it suddenly felt small and cramped in a way that it never did before. Human brain at work. Most of all, the new infograph faces that I've come to use as dashboards for my day. Rumor has it Apple is going to be adding back updated versions of some of the classic complications like messages and mail to infograph as well, which will only make it better. I use the new Hermès face whenever I go out all fancy-like as well, but not really any of the other faces, including the new fire, vapor, and water faces, unless I'm doing a tech demo to just show off the big new display. I still wish the Photos face offered more complications, since it's the closest thing to an official custom watch face generator we have right now. And I still miss time travel, which was removed with watchOS 5, making the big calendar complication on infographic modular especially the poorer for it. Performance with the new 64-bit Apple S4 system and package is so good, I don't even notice it anymore, which is an astounding thing to find myself saying after years of forgiving various degrees of slower performance simply because it was a tiny, highly constrained watch computer. Now it just feels like a computer. I can also typically make it through 1.5 or 2 days of battery, unless I do more than one workout a day. Sure, it's a brand new battery, but it's also powering a better processor and a bigger screen, so I'm still counting that as impressive. Yep. Most impressive. I've only used walkie-talkie a few times in the wild over the last month when I've been visiting friends and not wanting to scream between rooms. It still takes a while to connect, and since I'm so used to standard voice, the staccato of push-to-talk is flummoxing. So I end up just using FaceTime audio instead, and it works great, especially with the new mic placement and louder speaker, and of course AirPods. Well, I was having some trouble with the podcast app hogging all the available space on my watch, but Apple seems to have fixed that with the latest update. Though the fix does seem to have made daily shows like mine a little harder to keep locally if you actually aren't listening to them every day. So listen daily or stream. The new Siri, which no longer needs you to say hey when you raise it, is still hit and miss for me. It goes long stretches working just fine, then seems to go on break just often enough that I've reverted to pushing the crown to activate it because that just always works. Also, while I luckily didn't get bit by any of the recent update bugs, remote restore is something Apple really has to figure out for watchOS, and soon. Something that works with the Watch app on iPhone or even, gasp, iTunes on the Mac and Windows. I've left fall detection on and haven't had any false positives, though some of my friends and family have. Unfortunately, I did have a friend fall down the stairs just last week and hurt herself, and the fall detection went off flawlessly. She didn't end up using it to call 911, but it instantly made the watch go from a little bit expensive to absolutely invaluable for her. The ECG-EKG feature, or the single-pad equivalent electrocardiogram, which is something Apple announced alongside the Series 4 as coming to US customers later this year, is still pending. No word or updates on that yet. The workout detection, both starting and stopping, continues to be one of my favorite new features. I'm hoping it's making me better about remembering to start and stop workouts, but it also might just be learning me some helplessness. I'd be totally fine with me just doing the workouts and the machine handling all the tracking. There have been 1 or 2 occasions, typically when I've been traveling and doing back-to-back outdoor walks, that the second walk wouldn't get auto-started, so I still do keep some track on my own, especially now that winter has fallen. Everything is covered in layers of ice and snow, and it's getting harder and harder to hit the pace requirements necessary to set off the outdoor walk workout. Snowshoe option, anyone? It isn't any one feature, okay yeah, the display, but seriously, that sets the new Apple Watch apart. As always, it's the sum of the many moving parts, each getting better and more polished as hardware and software moves on. Almost all of the best new features of watchOS 5 work every bit as well on Series 3 and even Series 2, which is part of the overall value Apple offers with its products. 2 months later and almost 4 years in, the Apple Watch's killer features have changed somewhat for me. It used to be all about convenience. Now it's also about saving lives. But it does both better than ever, and ultimately that makes it all about time. Tracking, saving, and making sure we live to have as much of it as possible. One area Apple Watch doesn't address yet, time saving, health guarding, or otherwise, is eye care. But that's where Simple Contacts comes in. Simple Contacts lets you renew your expired contact lens prescription and reorder your brand of lenses from your phone or computer in minutes. You can take the Simple Contacts vision test online in 5 minutes, a real doctor reviews it, and if your vision hasn't changed, renews your prescription. And if you already have an unexpired prescription, you just upload a photo of it and your doctor's info and order your lenses in a minute for a great price. Best of all, you get $20 off your first Simple Contacts order just by going to simplecontacts.com/vector and entering vector at checkout. Now, this isn't a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam. You still need that, but it's the most convenient way to renew a prescription and reorder your contacts if your vision hasn't changed. Again, get $20 off your first Simple Contacts order just by going to simplecontacts.com/vector and entering vector at checkout. Thanks, Simple Contacts, and thanks to all of you for supporting the show. 2 months in, my opinion really hasn't changed. If you haven't gotten an Apple Watch yet, you should get an Apple Watch, and you should probably get the Series 4. If you have a Series 3, you have to really want that bigger display, that fall detection, or that upcoming ECG app to make it worthwhile. If you have a Series 0 or a Series 1 though, then this is definitely the upgrade you've been waiting for. At least that's what I think. But now I want to know what you think. So hit like, hit subscribe, and then hit up the comments below and let me know. And thank you so much for watching.